Okay, hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. I'm coming on because we got a lot of big stuff to share tonight. A lot of important things are coming out today. I guess they are live right now. There was a 7.0 earthquake in Alaska again. And then Benny has a video on Tim had shots fired at his home. And then Ann, I got an article on that the guy that got shot in West Virginia. I guess he's recovering. So there's a lot to cover today. I got my shopping, I got my mail or laundry done. So I got enough energy now for tonight. Go Alabama. Yep, I'll show you that after we get to other breaking news. So we'll go ahead and share that right now about Alaska. Alaska is
So is it possible that it actually, I mean, if you look at the star, isn't the star on the north side of the border?
No problem.
Oops, somehow that sent off my Siri. But again, right now, as of right now, the official report is from the USGS is that, let me show you here. Ooh, maybe they said it's now, maybe they're saying it's north of Alaska, just north of the border. Let's see here.
Is anybody from Alaska listening?
Latest earthquakes. Right here it says, I guess right now, I thought originally it said Alaska. It's possible it was right. I mean, this looks like it's on the border. It's possible that it was technically in Canada, or maybe if I don't know how well they can locate these things, maybe both. Right there, look at this. That seems to suggest maybe it's, yeah, see, this says Southern Yukon Territory, Canada. Originally, I know the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center email originally said this was a 7.0 in southeastern Alaska. I have the actual email from them. And I posted that on my X account. You can see it right here. Right here. Here, look. See, it says location southeastern Alaska. That was originally sent out by the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, 7.0. However, it looks like maybe it's just across the border in Canada.
I was seeing if anybody's in the chat or someone.
Because this one, it says 7.0.
It's from Alaska.
And if you look down, it says Southern Yukon Territory, Canada. All right. So anyways, I'm not positive. How about 7.0 earthquake hits near Alaska-Canada border? I'll change the headline to that because it's kind of unclear right now. But very close to the border. Let's see here. Again, no tsunami risk from this, no tsunami threat. And I do want to put, you can see there's the location right there. And the shake, that's the shake map showing you where the strongest shaking is. But important to note that if we go to the USGS commentary on this, where is it? Right here. Look at this. So it says population in these different shaking areas. 0 population in 0,000 in severe, very strong, or strong.
Okay, that was an update on that big story. Then we got another stabbing, you guys. So we'll get to that.
On a rail line in Charlotte, North Carolina. It happened yesterday and it was committed by an illegal alien. This is crazy, folks. A man stabbed on light rail, and the offender was an illegal alien who has been in trouble numerous times in the Charlotte area and has somehow been let out despite being in the country illegally. Mecklenburg County does not honor ICE detainers. Who is this guy? Whew. Crazy stuff. This comes just months after a Ukrainian refugee was stabbed by a habitual criminal offender.
I just did another one. Video.
I'm going to share some details about this guy and this stabbing incident, and then we will further discuss. Check it out.
We continue to follow breaking news at 6. We mentioned this at the top of the show. We are following reports of a stabbing in North Charlotte. WCNC Charlotte's Siobhan Riley joins us live from the scene. So Siobhan, catch us up. What's the latest there?
Nick, we have just learned that one person is being treated for serious injuries tonight. I want to step out of the shot just so you can kind of see what's happening. CMPD, they are out here. They are investigating this scene, just trying to figure out what's happening. We are on North Brevard Street and East 25th Street, and you can see the crime tape is still up. We're seeing investigators kind of stepping in and out of that light rail right there, still working to learn what's happening. But what is interesting is this comes less than 5 months after that deadly stabbing of Irina Zaruska, who was stabbed on a light rail. Again, we're still working to learn what's happening, but the reaction that we are getting from people out in the community, someone just drove by and she said, "What happened?" And we told her there was a stabbing, and she said, "Oh my gosh, another stabbing here." So again, we will continue to keep you updated on this story. CMPD is not releasing much more information as far as one person is being treated for serious injuries. Reporting live from north of Uptown, Siobhan Riley, WCNC Charlotte.
All right, Siobhan, thank you for that. And stay with us. We'll continue to follow these breaking updates inside our live Impact News stream over on WCNC Plus.
Breaking. Oscar Solorzano, an illegal immigrant, has been charged with attempted first-degree murder after stabbing a man in the chest on the Charlotte, North Carolina light rail last night. There he is. And it appears he has been deported before and had re-entered the United States illegally and now arrested. Crazy.
In the hospital after a stabbing along the Charlotte light rail. This comes less than 3 months after Irina Zaruska was stabbed to death. Brian Trader is in the WRAL Live Center monitoring this story. Brian, this is already garnering some reaction from lawmakers.
Indeed, Governor Josh Stein tonight, all new, is speaking out on X. He posted this earlier this evening saying, "I just spoke with Chief Patterson about the horrific stabbing on the light rail this evening. Please join me in praying for the full recovery of the victim." And Chief Patterson he's talking about is Estella Patterson, and if that name sounds familiar, she was Raleigh's police chief. Today was her first day on the job as Charlotte's new police chief. And he also says that Chief Patterson already was surging law enforcement throughout Charlotte with Operation Safe Season, and I'm grateful that the state law enforcement agencies that are assisting in the operation, public safety is a top priority for us all. Here is what we're learning about today's stabbing. This is video of the patient being taken off of that train. This happened on the Blue Line just north of Uptown Charlotte, right around 5 o'clock. All that we know is that the person who was stabbed was taken to the hospital with serious injuries, and WSOC TV in Charlotte is reporting that one person is in custody. At this point, police are not saying anything about a motive.
All right, Brian.
And remember, folks, in Mecklenburg County, Charlotte, they shield the illegals that have been arrested for local crimes, and they shield them from ICE. ICE, they do not honor ICE detainers. We've talked about this numerous times. They just release them back out on the streets. ICE announces more Mecklenburg County criminal offenders shielded by current non-cooperation policy. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, released additional information on more unlawfully present foreign nationals facing serious crime offenses in Mecklenburg County who are under the county's ICE non-cooperation policy would currently be released back into the local community where they would be free to reoffend. These are just the latest examples of unlawfully present aliens charged with serious public safety offenses in Mecklenburg County. Yet, these latest examples are still currently in local custody. These cases have all been identified by ICE to be illegal aliens subject to an ICE detainer, yet, per current local policy, they would be released back into the local community without notice to ICE. However, all as these persons remain in local custody, should Mecklenburg County reconsider its non-cooperation policy, there is still time to prevent the release of these individuals and instead work to cooperate with ICE to protect public safety. The only way a person is subject to an ICE detainer in Mecklenburg County is if they are handcuffed and arrested for a crime committed in the local community. The only persons protected by these misguided policies are criminals, as the only way a person is subject to a detainer is if they're been arrested for a crime beyond anything to do with immigration status. They keep getting released out on the streets and then reoffend.
We don't need to hear. I can't believe that another stabbing with another illegal immigrant, all because of Biden's open borders. Okay, and slowly healing.
Political violence. I'm getting kind of sick of this. There's been a lot of rhetoric that has been thrown around carelessly, a lot of lies, and it is getting people killed. Charlie Kirk murdered on camera. Donald Trump took a bullet to the head. Members of the MAGA movement murdered as well. Corey Comprantor. Multiple people have been arrested and are sitting in prison for threatening to murder and kill my entire family. Here's another one from just last week. A stalker who roamed the neighborhoods in and around my home asking where I was, then showed up at Cat Turd's residence threatening to kill Matt Walsh and his kids. It is true demonic darkness versus light. And we covered earlier in the week that Tim Pool has, well, been heavily and readily engaging in this fight. Tim has decided to go directly at Candace Owens. And Candace Owens's rhetoric over the last couple of days, weeks, and months since Charlie's murder And Tim Pool was shot at last night in what had to have been an attempted assassination attempt. Tim Pool saying last night, a vehicle approached our property and opened fire. No one was hurt. Our security team is reviewing this incident and will be relaying the report to the appropriate law enforcement. This is the price that we pay for speaking out against evil, says Tim Pool. I only mentioned the Candace thing here because obviously Tim Pool has in subsequent posts called what Candace is doing evil, as she is openly attacking and leveling allegations against people inside of the Turning Point orbit, blaming them for the murder of Charlie Kirk. And Tim Pool, as we have covered, is hitting out very, very hard against that. And Tim seems to be connecting that. We have no idea. I'm just saying this for the record. I have no idea who the gunman was. I don't know. Apparently it was captured on camera. So I don't know who it was or what happened or who they were related to or coordinated with. I know that Tim gets attacked all the time. Tim has regular swattings at his place. Of course, that's when somebody calls in that there's a murder or some hostage situation in order to get a SWAT team to kick in the door and kill Tim. It should be seen as an attempted assassination. This far more overt in its assassination nature when you're just spraying Tim's studio with bullets. Thankfully, Tim has a security gate and a security door, and his studio is sort of up and off the main road, so you wouldn't be able to get to it if you were just driving by or get to it extremely accurately. Nonetheless, I've stood outside of Tim's studio multiple times before. If a hail of bullets went through, you could easily kill somebody. I'm not saying that this isn't dangerous. I'm just thankful nobody got killed. Tim does have security precautions. My immediate thought is somebody is trying to scare us, but we have a security gate and armed guards, and it is possible that this deterred something more serious, says Tim Pool about the property getting sprayed with bullets. I hope that they release the footage or that they release some type of traffic camera that they can get this individual. Again, there's an individual who's currently in custody right now because they were able to get his license plate when he was wandering around our neighborhood and threatening other commentators and Matt Walsh, Cat Turd, Laura Loomer, and so on. It's just gotten crazy out here. It's starting to really piss me off. Why has it gone so crazy? Why has everything gone so mad? These are real world. People have real families. Tim is a father. He's got a wife. His family lives near his studio with him. So when you're shooting bullets at Tim's studio or Tim's property, you're shooting bullets where his kid could be wandering around in the yard. It's just patently evil. Tim Pool said that on Friday evening, somebody in a vehicle approached his property and opened fire. Tim Pool posted, last night, a vehicle approached our property and opened fire, and nobody was hurt. Our security team is reviewing. The post from Tim is just months out from the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which took place on September 10th. In a follow-up post, he wrote that somebody is trying to scare us. A poll taken after the Kirk shooting from Pew said that 85% of Americans believe that political violence is on the rise in America. Of course, it is. A lot of people reaching out, obviously, to support Tim. Tim regularly gets swatted. Here's some of the posts of Tim getting swatted. Got swatted 15 times in 1 year. I had a bomb squad at my studio twice. We've had to evacuate for 3 hours during our show. Last year, a man in a dress attacked one of my employees at our old location. We have armed guard. This is how it's been because of the left. Obviously, a lot of people outreach to Tim. We're praying for Tim. Megyn Kelly, this is awful. I'm sorry that this happened. Things are getting out of control. This stuff is happening more frequently. This is awful. Praying for you. Stay safe. Horrific. Praying for you, Tim. I'm sorry. I have a uniformed police officer outside of my house right now. This sucks. People need to know how serious this is. This sort of madness that occurs in a deeply divided society where adversaries are seeking to create crisis instead of stopping them in the first place. Glad no one is hurt. We need to figure out who did this. This BS has to stop. Naomi, who's one of Tim's regular guests and co-hosts, says, I was at the show. undeniably one of the most important conversations in the history of digital information war. And I just left before the attack. This is the price for seeking truth. Charlie Kirk was only the beginning. Goodness. Terrorist attack, the FBI should get involved. That's absolutely true. Not only is a terrorist attack, potentially a hate crime, right? And General Flynn's right here, man, that what does Tim do? Tim has conversations with people. And we're living in an era where people would rather, in order to shut down conversations, people would rather use violence and kill. And that's a collapsed society. You're seeing this like almost exclusively on the left. But people are like done talking. They're like done with people who have conversation. They believe that if you call someone a name, if you call someone a Nazi or a fascist long enough, and loud enough, that you just kill them, and that is the excuse to just murder someone. They call you a Nazi and a fascist in order to murder you, not because you're a Nazi and a fascist. They call you that so that they have some pretext to go commit violence against you. Political violence is escalating in this country, and targeted attacks against the right happens too frequently. This needs to stop now. A lot of people.
Taxes was feeling unloved. Now Taxes is no door to new TurboTax stores. Meet our experts. They do your taxes, so you can walk out with confidence. Now this is Taxes.
When you've got a classic ride, you need tools you trust. Whether you drive it every...
A lot of people are really frustrated by this. Corporate media, of course, does nothing to assist or help out or to lower the temperature. When this man was arrested for threatening to kill my family, NBC News simply called him a man, but I am a conservative influencer with deep ties to the Trump administration. Do you see what they're doing? They're making excuses. They're like, these people deserve to die because of how close they are to the Trump administration. Well, I mean, they did something that is unforgivable. They voted for Donald Trump. It's like 77 other million people in America, and therefore they deserve to get shot at or to have their family terrorized. Completely evil. Completely evil. I'm sick of it. Ladies and gentlemen, pray for Tim. If you have an extra second, pray for us. Not above asking for prayer. And pray for those who are in this country seeking truth, defending Christendom, and living out their freedoms, because there's evil in this country and it wants to kill us. So we'll take your prayers. Say a prayer for Tim.
So that was another big news to share. We got about 3 big things to talk about on the breaking news stuff. I'm gonna do a couple more short clips, and then I got that lady on YouTube. It's 24, and then I think George has one out too, and I'll go back to doing shorts. Let me know if this is gonna be okay to play. It's 2:43.
Fort was fenced off and sanitized for tourism. It was open ground, an untamed landscape of cliffs, caves, and uncharted territory.
Should be okay.
And in 1908, just as President Theodore Roosevelt prepared to lock it down forever, one last explorer slipped through the gates.
Yep, you're right, Tim.
His name was G.E. Kincaid. Officially, he was working a mineral survey. Unofficially, he was chasing legends. Kincaid took a small boat down the Colorado River. About 40 miles upriver from El Tovar Crystal Canyon, he saw something strange. Discoloration in the sediment, far above the waterline. He tied off his boat, climbed the canyon wall, and found steps. Not natural erosion, not a game trail. These were carved, ancient, and winding up into the stone like a forgotten staircase to somewhere no one was meant to find again. At the top, hidden beneath desert brush, was the mouth of a cavern. The entrance, too, was clearly man-made. Inside, Kincaid found nothing that made sense, at least not if you believe the standard history of North America. The walls were covered in strange symbols, hieroglyphs, not Hopi, not Mayan, not anything local. They looked Egyptian, but not quite. He went deeper. Chambers opened up, dozens of them, hundreds. Rooms laid out like a complex, like an ancient city, buried within the rock. There were mummies, statues, tools and weapons forged from copper and other metals, some still unknown today. He found a crypt filled with perfectly arranged skeletal remains, each resting on carved shelves, accompanied by urns and broken swords. All the mummies were male. Elsewhere, there were storage rooms, granaries still holding seeds, pottery lined neatly on stone shelves. There were signs of metallurgy, slag and mat from a smelting operation, workbenches still littered with charcoal. These people had mastered the art of copper hardening. They weren't primitives, they were engineers. And then there was the statue, a massive figure carved from black stone, seated cross-legged in the lotus position, a flower in each hand. Not Egyptian, not Native American. Something else, something foreign, something sacred. Kincaid estimated the complex could have housed 50,000 people. He sent artifacts and documentation to the Smithsonian.
I hope that was okay. Oh, dang it.
Hundred children. That's how many children were rescued from the darkest corners of our country. That's incredible. That is amazing. But it also reminds us of how much more work is still left to do. And there were reports just today that 45 to 50 children were just found in Memphis, Tennessee. My heart just breaks and rejoices all at the same time. And let me say this, I am praying for the ones that are still out there that haven't been found, that God keeps his hand of protection around them until they are. And I'm praying for the 5,400 that have been rescued. And even though they're safe now, they still got a lot of healing ahead. Mentally, emotionally, they've seen the darkness in this world that most of us couldn't even imagine. But I'm believing in their comeback stories. And if any of these kids could ever hear or see this video, I would want them to know you are loved, you are wanted, and you will be cared for. God's always got your back. And look, I know you've seen the darkness in this world, but there is a reason you were found. There is a reason you are still here. And I sincerely pray and I hope that you take that pain, that story, that survival, and I hope you turn it into something so powerful.
I used to live in
because you are powerful. And know this, we are not stopping. We're going to keep praying. We're going to keep searching. And we're going to keep bringing these kids home because that's what they deserve.
Okay, that's another important one from our TikTok lady.
Or first half 2026, could be sooner, could be slightly later, but within that window, the three trades are already active. Cash is being raised, gold is being accumulated, volatility bets are being placed, the smart money is positioned. When the trigger event happens, when commercial real estate defaults cascade, or a major bank fails, or a geopolitical crisis erupts, the crash will accelerate quickly. Markets will fall 20 to 30% in weeks, then another 20 to 30% over several months. The bottom will arrive when panic is maximum, probably mid to late 2026. Unemployment will hit 9 to 10%. The S&P will bottom around 3,500. Bitcoin will fall to 20,000 or lower. Gold will surge to 5,000 or higher as the Fed prints unlimited money. That bottom, that maximum fear moment, that's when the fourth trade happens. That's when you deploy all the capital you protected and all the profits you made, and you buy everything quality at fire sale prices. Then you hold for 5 to 10 years while markets recover and your positions triple or quadruple. That's the full pattern. 4 trades across 18 to 36 months. Executed correctly, it creates generational wealth. Here's the bottom line. The 3 trades aren't secret. They're not insider information. They're a documented historical pattern that repeats because crashes follow the same mechanical sequence. Extreme valuations, excessive leverage, a trigger, forced liquidation,
you working?
And the investors who see it coming make 3 trades.
What do you think of this one,
Convert
Paul?
to cash, buy gold, bet on volatility. These trades have worked in 1929. They worked in 1987. They worked in 2008. And they're being executed right now in 2025 by the smartest investors in the world. Warren Buffett sitting on $325 billion in cash. That's trade 1. Central banks buying 3,000 tons of gold. That's trade 2. Hedge funds buying credit default swaps and put options. That's trade 3. The pattern is playing out in real time. The only question is whether you'll recognize it and position accordingly, or whether you will ignore it and hold through the crash, losing 30 to 50% or more of your wealth. Most people will ignore it. They always do. They'll believe this time is different. They'll believe AI changes everything. They'll believe the Fed will save markets. They'll believe valuations don't matter, and they'll lose everything, just like most people did in 1929, 1987, and 2008. But a small group will see the pattern. They'll execute simplified versions of the 3 trades. They'll protect capital, preserve wealth, and profit from the crash. And then they'll buy at the bottom and become wealthier than they ever imagined. The choice is yours. The 3 trades have been made. The pattern is repeating. The crash is coming. Position yourself accordingly. If this video showed you a pattern you'd never seen before, if you understand now that this...
How was that one, you guys? One more short one, and we'll get you to 23 minutes.
World Cup 2026 final draw. Please put your hands together for the legendary Maestro Andrea Bocelli.
Let's play this, guys.
It's just a song, right?
Oh,
but I think a lot of people are missing the deeper meaning of this video. First of all, let's take a look and see where this performance took place. It took place at none other than the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. And what song was he singing? Well, Nessun Dorma, which, as a lot of people will remember, was the song that was played at the end of Donald Trump's Republican National Convention speech. Now, back when this happened, a lot of people were looking into that song and found out that it was played at the end of the movie, The Sum of All Fears. The Sum of All Fears, taking a look deeper into the movie, it's a film about a neo-Nazi attempt to trigger a nuclear war between the United States and Russia by setting off a nuclear device in Baltimore. The film was a financial success, brought in $193.9 million, and the budget was only $68 million. Okay, it's the same song that Donald Trump used at the end of his RNC speech. It's from a movie about U.S. and Russia potential nuclear war, and it's being sung at the John F. Kennedy Performing Arts Center. What are the lyrics for this song? Well, it starts with none shall sleep, but at the end it says, at dawn, I will win, I will win, I will win. But I think what people are missing is that there's another connection here. This song was sung at the FIFA World Cup, soccer. Does anybody remember this?
about the having the ball in our court in Syria. President Trump has just mentioned that we've successfully concluded the World Football Cup. Speaking of the football, actually, Mr. President, I'll give this ball to you, and now the ball is in your court. All the more that the United States will host the World Cup in 2026.
That's right. Thank you very much. We do host it, and we hope we do as good a job. That's very nice. That will go to my son, Barron. We have no question. In fact, Melania, here you go.
They could have chose any song. They could have chose any artist, but they chose that song with that sport from that movie about the U.S. and Russia. You can't make it up.
That was good, huh? Yeah, we'll get the first 20-minute one and go to the fourth. Dang it.
App that was secretly harvesting your data and ripping off local businesses.
23 minutes.
And she's calling it one of the worst customer fraud cases that her office has ever seen. So while that's all going on in court, people are also popping up on social media wondering, why is Temu still hitting my credit card after I've already checked out? Or why exactly did my 100% cashback offer split into multiple shipments and extra fees so that my deal disappeared? Today, we're digging into Temu's 3 big red flags: the Arizona lawsuit and what it actually alleges, the reports of mystery charges and duplicate debits, and how Temu's coupons and wild cashback promos can actually flip free money into costing you more money than you plan to spend. All right, so let's talk about what's really going on behind those shop like a billionaire ads.
Temu a scam? Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays says yes, it is, and she's suing them over misleading business practices and what she says is spying on users. Paying for one thing, getting another. Stories like these aren't hard to find on social media.
Some of the worst violations of the Arizona Consumer Fraud Act that I have ever seen.
Now, Arizona's Attorney General is suing Temu, citing those complaints of misrepresenting products and unveiling her office's investigation into even deeper issues.
This Chinese-based company is spying on every Arizonan who has installed it.
May says a forensic investigation she ordered found the app is designed to infect devices with malware and spyware, stealing private information while hiding its tracks.
If it sounds Orwellian, it's because it is. The scope of this invasion of privacy is enormous.
That information, she alleges, is then subject to be shared with the Chinese government, since Temu is owned by a Chinese company. The concerns echo those amplified over another Chinese-owned app, TikTok, which saw federal intervention over its ties to China in the last few years.
I think it is more egregious than TikTok in a number of different ways.
Mays also says the site can be seen outright stealing copyrights of brands, including Arizona-based ones. Worst of all, international reporting has indicated Temu uses forced labor to produce its products. Temu denies the allegations, calling them unfounded.
Of course, Temu's going to call them unfounded. You think Temu's really going to come up here and be like, yep, that's us. We did all of that. We duped you stupid Americans in and lured you in with the idea of buying a laptop for 39 cents. And then we stole your data and we spied on all of your local businesses and we ripped off all of your state branded clothing and we're selling your data without your knowledge because you didn't really realize it. But when you signed up for the app, you check marked a box and you stupid Americans didn't read it. And so, yeah, we're doing all this stuff. Temu's not going to do that. Of course, they're not going to do that. But what's scary about this whole thing is that, like she said, they did an internal investigation and they found all of this hidden malware and data collection inside the Temu app. And I agree with the sentiment that Temu is actually worse than TikTok. They're both China-based apps, but Temu is worse because a lot of people can resist downloading TikTok, right? Because we've got Facebook Reels, we've got Instagram, we've got YouTube Shorts. People that are wanting the funny or interesting or informative short form content, they don't have to go to TikTok. But in a time where people are having to find ways to make every dollar stretch, it's really hard to resist those coupons and deals that Temu be throwing at us. So of course, people are a lot more likely to download an app where you can save a boatload of money on things that you might want or need versus paying full price somewhere else. And allegedly, Temu knows that, and they're abusing it.
There are so many lawsuits against Temu right now, including class actions. But before you download the app, let me tell you the terrifying things that the state of Arizona said about Temu in a lawsuit they just filed. Arizona says not only do you need to delete your Temu account, you also need to uninstall the app. Then you need to scan your device for any malware and potentially do a full factory reset. Because according to the lawsuit, even after you uninstall the app, Temu can still track you and still take your data. But I get it, you guys. This looks so soft and it even says free in Temu app. But the most terrifying allegation is that in spite of Temu's security and privacy guarantees, the lawsuit alleges that Temu installed the ability to track you in an encrypted way intentionally to evade forensic review. This allegation is that so they could track you without you or anybody else ever knowing that they could track you. Your precise physical location, your activity on all other apps, even when you're not using Temu, your microphone and your camera, and allegedly even after you uninstall the app. There is so much litigation, so many possible settlements, and I will keep you updated on all of them.
So she is always on top of lawsuits. This is the lawyer Angela. I'll make sure to link her down in my video description, just in case you want to get in on any potential settlements against Temu. And what's even crazier is that Arizona is not the first state. There are multiple lawsuits. Arizona is just the one that was filed a few days ago. Similar lawsuits have been filed in Kentucky, Nebraska, and Arkansas. So you could just about frame it as a growing pattern in state level cases. It's not just one AG grandstanding. And moving on from that, there are Better Business Bureau complaints that mention multiple charges, disputed duplicate charges, and consumers are also saying that they never authorized all amounts taken. There was also Reddit users over on the subreddit scams that were talking about how they placed a Temu order and then started seeing fraudulent charges way after the fact that they had placed that order. Even charges from other retailers such as Shein, despite never actually having shopped on the site, which makes them believe that all of their payment details were compromised. Again, correlation does not equal proof, but with what we're hearing coming out now about malware potentially being installed in your phone, all of the alleged shady background stuff that Temu is doing when you download the app to your phone, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
If you are doing anything, I need you to stop right now and listen to this. Now, Temu is owned by a Chinese company. It's only been around since July 2022, but 50 million people have already downloaded the app. They're attracted by those eye-popping deals. But beware. The BBB has received 900 complaints nationwide. Many involve product quality issues, shipping delays, and never receiving items paid for. But that's not all. The biggest issue the BBB has with Temu involves your privacy. The consumer organization found Temu collects not only customers' names, addresses, and phone numbers, but birthdays, pictures, and anything else they can find from your social media profiles. The BBB says Temu gets additional information from your phone, your iPad, your computer, any device you use to access the app. That means you're exposing your operating system, IP address, your GPS location, and browsing data. That type of access concerns cybersecurity experts who say that leaves the door open for someone to bypass security settings, to spy on your other apps, change settings. That would leave you vulnerable to identity theft. The BBB recommends you do not download the TeamU app, or if you have, delete it. Don't click on those sponsored ads you see on the social media, no matter how good.
So my bank details got sold to the black market by Temu. I'm not fucking around right now. So they took $400, but it was in like really small portions for 2 months. So like once a day they would take out like $3. So like you don't catch on to it. And I kept getting messages from the bank I was with being like, suspicious activity. And I was just like, this is so bullshit. I'm not falling for this shit. They just want me to click the link and then they can hack me. So anyways, I got like 5 of them, just like $100 been taken out. Like, is this you? Like, you need to reply yes or no, this is you or not. And I was just like, well, it's not me, but I'm not falling. So eventually I was like, just like to mum, I think my card's been hacked. Like, because I couldn't buy something today. Like my card wouldn't link up and I was like, I'm so stupid. So I call them. I call my bank and I'm just like, hey, like, I think my card, like, can I talk to like the fraud people? Like, someone's like hacking my card. And they're like, yeah, of course. And then I talked to them and they were like, oh God, okay, we've got 3 pages here of things that they have taken out of your account. Like, we're just going to go ahead and like claim that wasn't you. And I was like, what the and like, all of them were from like different countries and like different people, because the black market people use like a different IP address or something. I don't know. And I was like, that is so awesome. What are they buying? They couldn't even tell me. They were just like, yeah, we don't know. Like, it's just the most random stuff ever. And I was like, okay, what do I do? And they're like, we're just gonna have to send you a new card.
So, okay. So this is the other thing too. So she was saying that she kept getting fraud alerts from her bank and she thought that those were the scams. And that whole idea absolutely blows my mind. Not because she thought it was a scam, because it easily could have been. But nowadays in 2025, I mean, it's almost 2026 now. I'm a little bit afraid to see what the next year is going to bring. But it is so crazy that in the time that we live in now, we can trust nothing. We can trust nothing. We can't trust an app that's trying to give us a good deal without selling our data to the black market or sending us crap instead of what we thought we ordered. We can't trust a text message that we get that says that they're from our bank and want us to click a link in order to verify that a purchase is legitimate and not actually fraud. We can't trust emails that we get. We can't trust phone calls that we get. No wonder we are all so fearful every day, because everyone is out to get us. So all I want to say about this is, if you are, contacted by your bank or something and you do think that you are, being approached for a scam, don't click anything. The best thing to do is just to call your bank. Don't ignore it and assume it's a scam. Just reach out to your bank. Don't wait for them to call you. Don't click on any links that you might get in emails and text messages. Just reach out and call them, because it is so easy for credit cards to get compromised now, whether you're buying through an app or a website, or even swiping a card at the grocery store. Skimmers are like this whole big thing that a lot of people don't even realize.
Yeah, be careful, y'all. Look. You see that? You see where we at? We on Golden State, yo. Golden State and Shaw. They out here with the shits. Look.
Credit card skimmers being on credit card machines at even just a gas station could rip off your card information. So that's a whole other thing. But anyway, going back to Temu, I'm not saying that this kind of stuff happens to everyone, but it's happening to some people, and that should be enough to make you not want to buy on the site.
Yeah. So my bank details got sold to the black market by Temu.
She's not lying. Currently, I'm going through the same thing. I don't know if it was because of Temu, but the situation happened right after I made some purchases from Temu, and I was already sketched about the website, but I've heard good stuff about it. But I checked my account like last Friday. I was at $1. And I called my bank immediately. I didn't have, it happened like fast. I wasn't getting like monthly charges. It all happened at once, and they broke it down to like $23, $5, $1. Like it was broken down, so my bank didn't tell me nothing. Next thing you know, $500 gone, and I just had gotten paid. So luckily, I paid my bills. But I'm like, this is not a joke. Like, you have to be careful. And
couple of things too. Always make sure that you are checking your bank statement daily. It might sound like it's obsessive, but I mean, come on. If a lot of us don't have a lot of money in our bank anyway, we should be checking it every day so we don't throw that shit into overdraft and end up getting charged a bunch of bank fees. Don't give the banks more money than they deserve. Watch your balances. Don't throw shit into overdraft. So try to look at your bank account every single day, because like she said, it was $1 here, $3 here, $5 there. The bank is not going to contact you for that. That's the reason why these websites and why scammers that steal your credit card information, that is the exact reason why they don't do large transactions. They want to float under the radar with your bank. Your bank is only going to contact you if it's an unusual amount coming from an unusual place, like it's not a regular purchase of yours. Maybe over $100, maybe over $500, maybe 20 different transactions outside of the country. Those are the only circumstances where the bank might flag your account. I'm pretty sure that most banks now too, you can actually reach out to them and talk to them and let them know, hey, I do not make any purchases outside of the country. So if there are any international debits on my account, make sure to flag it immediately. And the second thing I wanted to say is, if you are making purchases, or if you want to make a purchase on a site like Temu or something that's questionable, for the love of God, do not use your debit card. I know that credit cards get a bad rap, but I'm telling you, I love credit cards. I use credit cards for everything. I love the reward points. I love the cashback bonus offers. As long as you're responsible with credit cards, they can be a very, very valuable tool, especially if you're young and needing to build up your credit. If you use a debit card and it gets stolen, they will drain your actual dollars out of your bank account versus draining a line of credit. And a lot of credit cards, yes, debit cards, a lot of banks and debit cards do offer the same protections as credit cards. But the problem with having your debit card drained or your bank account drained versus a credit card is if your credit card gets drained, if your limit gets eaten up and you file fraudulent charges, the credit card will replenish your balance and at least you still have your cold hard cash sitting in your bank account. If they drain your bank account, you have no money. You can't pay your rent. You can't pay your utilities. You can't go buy groceries. It's just be safe. And at least if you're going to buy from questionable websites, at least use a credit card that offers you some better protection and protects the money in your bank account.
The perfect gift sets for $35 and under from Sephora at Kohl's. I got this set of the Laneige Glowy Lip Minis.
And then the last scam that I want to talk about is people noticing that all of these exclusive cashback offers or coupon opportunities are ending up making them spend more money than they thought, allegedly because of some sneaky back-end work that ends up splitting up the orders and breaks up the transaction to void any cashback offers or coupon offers, or ends up making you spend more money because the shipments are broken up and you have to pay more in shipping. It ends up kind of canceling out your cashback offer. So the problem with this is if you are lured into the app and if you are coerced or enticed to buy more things than you originally were going to just so that you can use a coupon code, which, let's face it, is a classic marketing tactic, you end up spending more money and buying things that you didn't even need to use a coupon that's not even relevant anymore because of the extra money you had to spend. So this is Ronnie Lynn on TikTok, and I'm going to let her share her story and what happened to her when she tried to use a cashback offer on Temu.
So irritated at myself. I fell for a stupid Temu thing this morning. So I never get on there. I don't hardly ever order off of them, but I went on there this morning randomly because I was looking for something for my car. So I went on there randomly to see if they had it, and they did. But then they pop up this thing where, like, if you get so many points, you get $130 cash back on your PayPal. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that would be cool because then I would get this thing for less money or whatever. So And it already gave me a certain number of points. So I'm like, okay, well, I only need so many points. And I had calculated with the cash back how much I would have to spend in order to get the points, which it wasn't bad. But it kept stopping me after 3 or 4 items and then doing a crap ton of shipping cost for each one. And by the time I calculated it out and was finished and I'd already pushed complete for like 6 different transactions it made me do, as a scam. Shame on them. I will not be shopping from them ever again because I don't mind shopping if things are upfront and honest, but that was a scam. They had to keep closing out my cart. And then, of course, it was timed to make you feel pressured.
There you go.
Total scam. Total scam. I should have canceled the orders. I should have just canceled them. But I was afraid that they were going to do a thing like, well, if you cancel, you only get a portion of your money back. Shame on them. That is not the way to get customers. Disgusting. So anyway, so that happened this morning. I'm super annoyed because, I mean, it's not like I crazy overpaid for the stuff with the shipping, but the shipping was ridiculous. And it having to break it into like, I think it was 6 different orders. And it was purposeful as 6 different orders because of the shipping. Disgusting. I'm irritated. I should know better, though. I should know better.
There's a lot of people that get on social media and they rant about Temu and they all say the same thing. I should have known better. I should have known better. But we get sucked in. They are good at what they do. That's why they're so successful. That's why Temu is so massive. That's why over 50 million people have downloaded the app. They're good at what they do. They do all of the classic gambling techniques with the flashing lights and the wheel spinning. And my God, the amount of emails and advertisements they send out to try to tell people, hey, come and buy this. This is now $100 off. Hey, come and do this. If you buy 3 things, you'll save $30. They're very, very good at what they do. And it just leaves all of us feeling stupid when we get taken advantage of because we should have known better. We should have known better. Now, an honorable mention in the scam side of Temu is actually something that comes from the funny Temu fails videos that we see on social media all the time. I actually have a second channel where some of my most popular videos are Temu fails because a lot of them are very, very funny.
I thought it looked nice. No, it looks hard. What the hell? You look like a peacock. Hey.
You know, there's a lot of the times people order something and they get something completely different and we can see the humor in it. But there is a scam side to that as well. It's the scam where people think that they're buying an item and instead of getting the actual item, they're just getting a photograph of the item.
Temu got me because I thought I was buying this bat ornament, not a photo of someone holding the bat ornament. Like, what the is this?
That is clearly a scam. However, it's not necessarily Temu. It's the seller on Temu that's doing that. In most cases, people have filed a complaint with Temu and they have gotten a refund for this because it is just a bad seller. But the problem is that Temu does not protect buyers in the moment. They will cover them after the fact, but they don't protect buyers from shopping with sellers like this until it's too late. And even though Temu might say that they're trying to make it right, it still doesn't correct the problem because they're letting sellers do this to their buyers. All right, so that is Temu in 2025. Let's see what happens in 2026. We've got states calling out the app for a potential spyware nightmare, consumers complaining about random charges to their bank accounts after they've made purchases, and cashback deals that somehow seem to be working out better for Temu than for you. If you've ever had a Temu order go sideways, whether it's mystery charges, canceled items, cashbacks disappearing, drop your story down in the comments below. If you found...
Okay, that was another good one. Important one.
2 down in the living room, 1 to the stomach, 1 to the leg, 1528.
Northwest 113.
6411, you can disregard.
Thanks,
The vandalism, unit 115.
15, I'll be en route.
15, I'll show you en route, 1720.
Video, yep, you do.
We got a name of Amari Jones. Is that the suspect?
He's the only one that's doing it right now.
Check that. There's going to be 4 adults. Down 1 in the basement, 3 upstairs. We have a child injured. Is there
6411.
Answer. We checked the residence.
They're saying two children were injured.
That's in the front of the house. We're going to update medical. The scene is secure. I got 4 GSWs, 1 child victim.
Oh, that's
807 Marty Cooper. Is that our suspect?
I'm not sure how far it is from me. Yeah, I'm not sure how far it is. How far? I think it's a few hours.
Any unit able to respond to
643
Jackson? That's what's going on, 643.
.33 Jackson Avenue, cross of McLaren Street and Mulder Street. I have 3 adult patients, 1 child injured. Scene is now secure. You can go straight to the address at 1530.
I wonder where they're getting 2 kids from. Dang, that's wild, man. It's so crazy. That is just like, I think there's the only other video. I'll double check it's out there. This guy was on the scene.
Okay. Maybe I can
Fine.
So I guess they're saying the scene is secured. Suspect is on a run. They might know who the suspect is. Multiple people shot. Some people are saying they're dead already, but I don't know if they're deceased or not. So unusual for support people injured.
Chico.
They say the suspect lost his ID. You a dumb thief. Hey, one of them did. Yeah. Who you looking for?
Well, my sister got out, but Corey lives here. My little sister, best friend.
They just took her to the hospital.
They took her to the hospital.
Yeah.
Corey to the hospital? Yeah.
She was really bad.
The kids okay? It was 3 kids.
2 of them got grades.
You said 3 kids inside?
2 kids got.
It's 3 hours and 10 minutes, you guys, from me.
Grades.
2 kids got grazed. It's crazy, man. The holidays, that doesn't matter. Anybody can get it. Kids are just as likely to get it as adults, apparently.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on, if you guys can keep an eye on that. I'm going to get Jacqueline's 4 shorts, 1 before we do ours.
Anti-Semitic songs that tell non-white pupils they should be sent home.
1 minute.
Another contemporary described his behavior as appalling
Good or
and
bad,
ghastly.
JJ?
Mr. Farage says he never directly racially abused anybody at Dulwich College, which he attended nearly 50 years ago. A warning: the following contains some anti-Semitic language that could be found offensive.
Jean-Pierre Lihu went to school with Nigel Farage. They were initially friends and even had sleepovers together, but he soon became deeply troubled by Farage's behaviour.
He kept on about gassing the Jews, which is horrible.
And he used to literally sing, gas them all, gas them out, gas them all, into the chambers they crawl, and the rest of those horrible words. If you weren't white, you were likely to have a comment like useless, he used to say to people, send them home. And he used to pass comment on anyone that wasn't white, and particularly Indians. I mean, he had a great big issue with anyone called Patel, because I think the school had at one point more Patels than Smiths. That seemed to irk him.
Jean-Pierre is one of several former pupils at Dulwich College who've spoken out about their memories of Farage nearly 50 years ago.
I got a few other ones.
Through the area, residents forced to flee with little notice as flames and thick smoke quickly engulfed the area.
In the picturesque suburb of Coolawong, homes burning to the ground. It started close to 1 p.m. in one street and quickly spread across the suburb, the speed taking everyone by surprise.
Yes, we were evacuated. They told us that we have to get out, take some clothes, whatever we can.
I went out there and had a look too, and I thought, oh my God, you know, we've got to, it's on top of us.
Homes dotted in thick bushland had no escape, tearing through property after property, flames licking towering gums. Corrugated iron roofs destroyed, the neighbourhood smothered in acrid black smoke. Up the hill, another home is consumed by flames, and to the right, flying embers set this property alight.
Today, extreme fire weather with hot, dry conditions. That weather has really affected the fire behaviour in a negative way, and it hasn't allowed firefighters to have the time to protect all the properties that they could.
As homes along Glenrock Parade went up, but this man isn't giving up. Hosing down his home, police eventually convince him to leave.
A confronting day, particularly for the Central Coast. This is a warning for everybody to follow the advice from the RFS, from New South Wales Police, from Fire and Rescue. We need to make sure we do everything we possibly can to protect lives, particularly over the next 12 to 24 hours as wind directions change.
The fire attacked from the air, on the ground, crews reloading in Brisbane waters to continue the fight as residents count the cost. This man already knows his house is gone.
We made it. We're still here. We start again. Everything's gone, you know, like our memories and everything. All our clothes, all our possessions.
Okay, one there. I'm going to play back the other one. They're all short ones. Four minutes.
White pupils, they should be home. Another contemporary described his behaviour as appalling and ghastly. Mr. Farage says he never directly racially abused anybody at Dulwich College, which he attended nearly 50 years ago. A warning the following contains some anti-Semitic language that could be found offensive.
Jean-Pierre Lihu went to school with Nigel Farage. They were initially friends and even had sleepovers together, but he soon became deeply troubled by Farage's behaviour.
He kept on about gassing the Jews, which is horrible. And he used to literally sing, gas them all, gas them out, gas them all, into the chambers they crawl, and the rest of those horrible words. If you weren't white, you were likely to have a comment like useless, he used to say to people, send them home. And he used to pass comment on anyone that wasn't white, and particularly Indians. I mean, he had a great big issue with anyone called Patel, because I think the school had at one point more Patels than Smiths. That seemed to irk him.
Jean-Pierre is one of several former pupils at Dulwich College who've spoken out about their memories of Farage nearly 50 years ago. The Reform UK leader insists he never intentionally racially abused anyone, and this week accused the BBC of hypocrisy when challenged about the claims.
At the time I was alleged to have made these remarks, one of your most popular weekly shows was the Black and White Minstrels, right? I cannot put up with the double standards of the BBC about what I'm alleged to have said 49 years ago and what you were putting out on mainstream content.
Farage also read out a letter he said he'd received from a Jewish contemporary of his at school.
While there was plenty of macho, tongue-in-cheek schoolboy banter, it was humour. And yes, sometimes It was offensive, rather like most of the BBC's output, but never with malice.
But another Jewish pupil told Sky News that's no defence.
He was truly ghastly at Dulwich College. His behaviour
under 2 minutes
at 16, 17, 18, and you're a man at 18, you're technically an adult, was truly appalling. I was terrified of his bullies. So he had these guys kind of hanging around with him who would, and they were instructed to have a go at us as these young Jewish boys, these nice Jewish boys. And I never, for whatever reason, I don't recall ever having direct contact with Nigel Farage, but certainly I was very much a witness to his tormenting of others.
While allegations of this kind were first made several years ago, after a new Guardian investigation last month, the paper says 28 former pupils and teachers have now come forward to report witnessing racist or anti-Semitic behaviour. Nigel Farage claims these allegations are politically motivated, although both Jean-Pierre and Stefan say they have no political party affiliation. But with Reform UK storming ahead in the polls, their opponents are keen to pile on the pressure. The Tories say Farage's party is in chaos, and both Labour and the Lib Dems say he needs to come clean, do the right thing and apologise, as a group of Holocaust survivors are urging him to do. Jean-Pierre first spoke out in 2017, but believes there's more urgency now. There are some people who would say you shouldn't really be holding someone to account for something they said when they were still at school.
He's standing to represent the country in number 10, and he needs to come to terms with his past and basically come clean.
Amanda Acas, Sky News, Westminster.
My energy bill dropped from $150 to $50 by doing this.
Okay, I got 2 more short ones for you.
The government hopes will transform the lives of teenagers in this country. But will it work? That's a big question I have for the minister this morning.
I thought I lost everybody. Hold on. I almost lost everybody.
Under 16 social media ban, which, if successful, the government hopes will transform the lives of teenagers in this country. But will it work? That's a big question I have for the minister this morning. But at the most important time of Annika Wells' career, there are questions around her travel and whether her spending on all of her trips has been the best use of taxpayers' money. Is her flights costing $30,000 plus to the UN General Assembly in New York? Now stories emerging of her living it up during the Paris Olympics in her role as sports minister. And in today's newspapers, another revelation that she treated her family to a holiday in Thredbo on the taxpayer. We'll talk to the minister about this shortly. Of course, it comes at a time where cost of living is still front and centre for many Australians. And the state of the budget is a real concern for Treasurer Jim Chalmers. So these expensive stories can become scandals, and they can end up enveloping entire governments when they get started. Just ask John Howard in terms of his first term in office between 1996 and 1998, when he had to sack several ministers over travel rorts. The government will argue all this spending is within guidelines. I expect Annika Wells to do that in a moment. And Anthony Albanese, we know, will defend Annika Wells to the tilt, believing her to have much potential in this government. In terms of the outrageous cost of the New York flights, the PM believes that is one of those things that happens. The minister was supposed to travel on his plane to Unger, but was held back by the Optus 000 debacle and scandal, and so had to book flights at late notice. This is how she answered a question on it from Sky News' Ruben Spargo during the week.
How do you justify spending this amount of taxpayers' dollars?
Well, the reason you know all those things is because we're transparent about them, and we will disclose them, and we'll continue to disclose information about that trip through the usual processes. That trip was undertaken as the Minister for Communications, and I would think the people who were there for that UN event who join us in this room today would agree with me that it was incredibly important.
You don't think that was expensive for airfares? Over $94,000?
I've answered your question.
All right. Hopefully she answers mine a bit better than that. When it comes to the social media ban, the PM is going to be part of a big launch for it on Wednesday, as is Annika Wells. The PM sees it as one of his big reforms. There's a wraparound in the News Corp papers today with the company, which owns Sky News, leading the way on the campaign for the ban. And several famous landmarks were lit up last night around Australia advertising the ban. And even as Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was off on honeymoon on the beautiful Kangaroo Island in South Australia last week, there was good news for the Australian-American relationship.
Keep
the
going. It's
long-awaited
almost
review by
over.
the Pentagon into AUKUS dropped,
Almost over.
although we haven't seen it, given the nuclear submarine.
I got one
It
more
gave the
for you.
nuclear submarine deal a clean bill of health.
We got Q
It
videos.
appears the
coming up
reservations
next.
of Defence Undersecretary Elbridge
Four of
Colby
them.
have been
And then
swept
we got
aside by
George.
enthusiasm by US President Donald Trump for the deal. And after the World Cup football draw yesterday, it emerged Australia will play the US in June on American soil. Is it possible Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will attend this match and have another meeting with Donald Trump? I'm told if the president invites him, he's likely to.
Build a website you love
I think that was it.
with Wix.
We got one more.
Alexander Sirski says a peace can only happen if fighting stops along current front
1
lines
minute.
before negotiations begin.
Welcome.
Deborah Haynes reports from eastern Ukraine.
For Ukraine's top general, Russian troops, bombs and drones aren't the only threat. He also needs to deal with the impact of American diplomacy.
You're obviously a military commander, not a politician, but as the commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces, could you accept a peace deal that requires Ukraine to give up land it still holds in the Donbass?
Naturally, for us, it is unacceptable to simply give up territory. What does it even mean to hand over our land? This is precisely why we're fighting. So we do not give up our territory.
If Ukraine is forced into a deal that means it has to give up this land, then is all the sacrifice of the soldiers, your soldiers, would that have been in vain?
You know, I do not even allow myself to consider such a scenario. All wars eventually end. And of course, we hope ours will end as well. And when it does, a just peace must be established. In my understanding, a just peace is peace without preconditions, without giving up territory. It means stopping along the current line of contact. That means stop.
Ceasefire after that negotiations without any conditions.
Only then will such a peace be fair. Any other terms would be an unjust peace, and for us it is unacceptable.
But with Russia still on the attack, can Ukraine's defences hold?
If you have to, are you ready to keep on fighting? And if the answer is yes, do you have the manpower to be able to keep fighting for as long as necessary?
We have the resources to continue conducting military operations. We do everything so that if the enemy continues the war, and you can see that although we want peace, a fair peace, the enemy continues its offensive, using these peace talks as cover. There are no pauses, no delays in their operations. They keep pushing their troops forward to seize as much of our territory as possible under the cover of negotiations.
And can you keep fighting if, for example, America stopped supporting?
We are very grateful to our American partners and all of our allies who have been supporting us throughout this war with weapons and equipment. We hope they will continue providing full support. But we also hope that our European partners and allies, if necessary, will be ready to provide everything required for our just war against the aggressor. Because right now, we're defending not only ourselves, but all of Europe. And it is crucial for all Europeans that we continue doing so. Because if we're not here, others will be forced to fight in Europe.
He knows all too well what that means for a country and its people, a fate Ukraine's allies will surely want to avoid. Deborah Haynes, Sky News, Eastern Ukraine.
Okay, sorry about that. I wasn't sure on that one there, JJ. Okay, we got 5 Qs, and then we'll do George. Four minutes.
Guys, this decision that is coming from this case, the Supreme Court just decided to take it. This decision will fundamentally change the United States forever. This could be the most important ruling that we ever get in our lifetime. It's definitely going to determine how the Trump administration moves forward and how the Trump administration is remembered forever. So if you guys remember back in January when Donald Trump first came back into office, at that point, he signed an executive order, essentially not allowing his administration to honor birthright citizenship. Simply saying this, that if your child is born in the United States, then they are automatically a citizen. Now, we have essentially run with that since the 14th Amendment. And they've used the 14th Amendment over and over again to try to prove that, hey, the Constitution says that if you are born here, the children are given birthright citizenship. Well, the Trump administration is making a brilliant argument, in my opinion. The argument coming from the Trump administration is that is not what that bill or what that amendment was for. The 14th Amendment was in order to grant the children of slaves. Slaves were granted the citizenship, freed slaves. The 14th Amendment was to grant the children of freed slaves citizenship. Now, when you actually get into the actual text, it makes it very clear that the parents have to be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, or in other words, they need to be loyalist to the United States. They don't give citizenship to terrorist children born here in the United States. They don't give citizenships to even people who come in, ambassadors' children born in the United States. They must be subject to the jurisdiction. Now, the proof for that verbiage that the Trump administration is using is that even American Indians were not granted citizenship under the 14th Amendment. The American Indians did not receive citizenship until much after the 14th Amendment. And so it had to be argued before the court in order to do that. And it was not granted under the 14th Amendment. So the argument is if the American Indians, if Native Americans were not granted citizenship under the 14th Amendment, then how then could you grant citizenship for illegal aliens who come here, bear children, and then essentially grant them the citizenship and all of the rights and privileges that come along with being an American citizen? I think it's a brilliant argument. What do you guys think? But I believe this is so incredibly important because the idea that someone can come here illegally, break our laws, have a child, and then stay here forever as a result of it, it cannot be allowed to continue to happen. That law is broken and it must be fixed. And I'm thankful that Donald Trump is willing to do so. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think about.
Okay, that's number one.
Information. I'm going to give you guys info. You guys let me know what you guys think. I'm not going to give my personal opinion. Because of the fact of the sensitivity of the subject matter, I'm not going to give my personal opinion on it. I'm just going to give you guys the facts. We can talk about it in the comments. So earlier, this week, there was a case, a whistleblower case in court that was being heard about Pfizer. Pfizer was involved in it, specifically about the COVID vaccine. A whistleblower by the name of Brooke Jackson came forward. There had been some information that had been leaked that there had been several juvenile deaths, up to 10, we're being told, that were linked to the vaccine during the testing phase, and that those were covered up by Pfizer or by their regulators. Now, the interesting part about it is that the DOJ came in to shut all of it down. Who's the head of the DOJ? Pam Bondi is the head of the DOJ. Why? Because this was going to implicate the FDA and was also going to implicate people like Tony Fauci. But the concern is that because of this, they were told by the Biden administration that this was going to be allowed to continue. Okay, they were promised that this information would be allowed to be heard. The Biden administration quickly turned about face because they were concerned that even if the information had come out about the deaths, that they still would have approved this this drug to come on to the market. Now, the problem that we have here is we have to ask ourselves, if we know that there was information hidden from the regulators, and if we know that people died as a result of that information being withheld from the regulators, then should we not want to hear the whistleblower out? Should we not want to know exactly what took place behind closed doors? I mean, we know that the government, the Department of Defense, because of the Operation Warp Speed, put $1.9 billion on the line for Pfizer to speed this process along. And then an additional, after I believe it was the first, 100 million doses. And so all in all, the federal government, the Department of Defense, paid Pfizer over $3.5 billion, right? And so you would think that with that much of our tax money going, that this is something that we would want to pursue. Now, if you're still one of those people that wants to argue about the efficacy of said vaccine, then I guess we probably don't have a whole lot to talk about here. But if you are one that believes that there were problems, I would imagine that you would probably want to hear this whole thing out. So what possible reason would Pam Bondi and the DOJ have to shut this this whistleblower down and not allow her to come forward and to speak? In addition to that, there are some people who would say that Pam Bondi was simply doing her job and trying to protect President Trump, because President Trump has continuously come out and said that he is proud of Operation Warp Speed. Some people have said, now again, I'm not here to answer one way or the other. There's people who have said on the other side, well, she's protecting Donald Trump, because if she allowed this to come out, then immediately the Democrats would jump on it and they would say, hey, Donald Trump pushed this Operation Warp Speed, and so therefore he knew about this these issues with the vaccine, but he pushed it anyway. There's absolutely no proof of that, though. There's no proof that Donald Trump knew anything about this. In fact, I would say that if you looked at Donald Trump's history, I would have a hard time believing that he knew about the efficacy issues and chose to push it anyway. But again, it's something to talk about. Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you guys agree with Pam Bondi or not? I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.
Okay, we're going to play George's video. We'll come back and do the short ones. I got a Trish 10-minute one too.
Of non-citizens or illegals confirmed to be registered to vote in the United States.
I don't think we played this
Here
game,
is
did
Harmeet
we?
Dillon with that breaking news.
You guys remember this?
I'm Harmeet Dillon, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, and I'm here to share an important update about one of my many important duties here at the DOJ, which is enforcing our federal election laws. Here's some facts and figures for you. In the last 8 months, the DOJ has reached out to all 50 states, asking them to share their voter rolls with us so that we can help them comply with the Help America Vote Act, which requires states to maintain clean voter rolls. 4 states complied voluntarily. We sued North Carolina early on, and they are checking the voter records of 100,000 voters who were improperly enrolled on their voter rolls.
Just think about that. The federal government is doing its job because we have federal laws that govern who is a qualified elector. States manage the times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives. That's what it says in Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1 of the Constitution. It's very clear that state legislatures, the states, have power to oversee their elections. But the federal government has responsibilities nonetheless to make sure the game is fair on a national level. You can't have California using illegals as qualified electors, and then North Carolina follow the rules, or in this instance, North Carolina isn't following the rules. And you'll notice it's all the battleground states that are fighting tooth and nail to prevent this information from coming out. What does that tell you about the system? It tells you that the cheating happens mostly in the battlegrounds, and it happens in blue states as well, of course, and in some red states. Well, it happens everywhere nationally, but it's concentrated in the battleground states because those are the states that Democrats seek after the most. Let's continue.
They're going to fix their problem voluntarily. We have an agreement in place almost with another dozen states, and I expect very soon we'll be looking at their voter data and comparing it with our records and helping them clean up those voter rolls. Now we have 15 lawsuits pending against 14 states. That's right, California got sued twice, and we are in litigation with them. They're refusing to provide their records, even though many of these states voluntarily provide their voter rolls to nonprofit groups like ERIC and even other groups. And so,
yeah, the First Circuit Court of Appeals actually ruled that voter records, I think someone subpoenaed the records from, I believe, Massachusetts. And the district court said, no, you can't have access to this. And then the First Circuit said, actually, voter roll records are a matter of public record. The Georgia State Georgia State Supreme Court made the same ruling. So both a federal high court and a state high court have made this ruling. The Supreme Court has ruled on it time and time again that voter rolls are public record and states can't be preventing people from getting them, let alone the federal government that is trying to clean up the system.
So we are going to make sure that we get to the bottom of those, and then we're going to get to the rest of the states. So we're engaged with nearly 30 states. Here's what we found so far. We've checked 47.5 million voter records. We've found 260,000 plus dead people enrolled in the state's voter rolls, which is pretty concerning. They're going to be removed with the help of the DOJ. And finally, that there are several thousand non-citizens who are enrolled to vote in federal elections. This is very concerning, and the DOJ is partnering with local law enforcement.
I can't believe I'm saying this, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to need a law that says if you're dead, you can't vote.
Enforcement, where appropriate, to prosecute people who have unlawfully voted in our elections. Even one person voting who shouldn't have voted is one too many, because every citizen is entitled to one person, one vote assumption that their vote is being counted equally and only with other American citizens. We will not rest at this DOJ with the leadership of the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, until we complete this project and provide confidence to all American voters that the rolls are clean and the elections are free and fair.
Harmeet, I love you. Okay, I know you prayed to Wahaguru at the RNC. Jesus Christ is who we serve in America. And it wasn't a pretty look. But Harmeet, you and I, we have shared so much election integrity news between each other. This is why I loved that you were brought into the DOJ in the Civil Rights Division, because she's actually going after the real issue. But what's important there, and I want you to really know more about this, is that 47 million records were reviewed, 47.5 million. There's well over 100 million voter records across the states, and the DOJ is suing more states to obtain those records. Now, me and Grok, as always, we do these things. I do most of the work, but Grok just, takes a lot of the credit. And I feel like you guys are unfair sometimes. You give Grok all that credit, but not me. Okay, I did this. Grok just takes the credit. So
it was only 22 hours
if 260,000 dead people were discovered in 47.5 million records,
so I don't think
we have 168 million records in total. You subtract the 47.5 million, you get 120.5 million unreviewed voter records in the country. At the rate of what we're finding so far in the limited sample we have, ladies and gentlemen, the real number would be 659,000. Now, some of you might be like, that's not a lot. Yes, it is, first of all. Secondly, this is just one of the many methods they use. It's not only dead voters that's the problem. You have a problem with people who leave states and then their names remain in those states. Vlad is a friend of mine, and he left Washington State and moved to Arizona before the 2024 election. And they sent him a mail-in ballot for Arizona, for Washington State and for Arizona. I live in Colorado. I rent this house, and I got mail-in ballots for the people that used to live here. This is a problem. It's a problem that's much larger in these universal mail-in ballot states. In a lot of red states, you have to request to get to be an absentee voter and have a real reason. In states like California, like Colorado, like Washington, like Oregon, they just send these things out to you automatically. You can kind of start to see that if they're not cleaning up the voter rolls intentionally, a lot of people are going to start to get more than one. And you know what happens? Door knockers are going to come in. The mules, that's what Dinesh D'Souza called them, the mules. They'll come in, knock on your door and say, hey, you got more than one? Hey, you might as well just fill it out and we'll deliver it to the drop box for you. And that's how it works. That's the operation. So it's not just dead voters. It's other categories of shenanigans. So we're potentially looking at 660,000 dead voters if we consider all the records, that's a lot. That's actually a lot. Okay. And if you want to round that up, that's a lot more. Round it up to the nearest 1 million, because that's how Democrats operate. But I want you to just see this perspective. Trump won in Arizona with 86,000 votes. Many would argue it was much more. But on paper, 86,000 in Arizona, 126,000 in Georgia, 180,000 in Michigan, 33,000 in Nevada, 191,000 in North Carolina, 139,000 in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, 29,000. The total margin of victory for Trump in all the battleground states combined is 684,000 votes. You see where I'm going with this, which means that 660,000 dead voter thing starts to look a lot more serious. It starts to look a lot more scary, a lot scarier. 684,000 versus 660,000. You can basically take every other swing state with this. Now, of course, these numbers are nationwide, and we're not even including the thousands, as Harmeet Dillon mentioned there, the thousands of illegals who are on the rolls.
Oh, I did it. This is a new one.
Okay, and I equally did more work with Grok, and I said, Grok, if everything were divided equally, how many potential dead voters could be in each congressional district? And what is the average victory margin in the top 30 tightest congressional races? The average margin. Well, 659,000 divided by 435, that's the number of seats in Congress, gives us roughly 1,500. Now, this is very lame math because not every seat in Congress is going to have shenanigans. 2/3 of the seats in Congress are foregone conclusions. It's going to be blue or red. 1/3 is where there's that ambiguity. So I really should have done 1/3 of the seats in Congress, but I just want to put this in perspective because it's still very important. California's 13th congressional district was separated by 187 votes. Iowa's 1st was separated by 500. Colorado's 8th was separated by 1,200. New York's 4th was separated by 2,000. Pennsylvania's 7th was separated by 2,500. These are numbers from the last election.
My energy bill dropped from $150 to $50 by doing this. My friends laughed at me when I spent $49.
And then from 6 to 30,
6 minutes.
It goes from 3,000 to 30,000. And that's the range of the margin of victory for the eventual winner. What does this all mean? Well, it means you don't need that many dead voters in a district of 750,000 people to really pull off shenanigans. You can work with 10,000, you can work with 2,000, you can work with 3,000. But on average, if you just do the math, you have about 1,500 available in each district. That allows you to take a lot of congressional seats. This year, we had congressional seats that were separated by, a lot that were separated by over 2,000, but many in the midterms are going to be separated by 200, 400. Look at the bigger picture. That's a huge problem, ladies and gentlemen. That's the perspective I want you to really just take. And you'll start to see, this is a massive problem. So I'm glad the DOJ is going after this. They're tackling this. 260,000 so far out of the 47.5 million records reviewed is substantial. And that's dead voters and also the thousands of illegals. We're not talking about voters that moved but still appear in their previous state's residence in their roles as though they never moved.
No, I'm glad I
and it's interesting because if you move to a different state, the IRS and all the tax bodies are quick enough to update your records and make sure they can send you information about your taxes But I guess when you move, your voter registration doesn't change. You know, it's going to take 5 to 10 years, 10 business years to get that updated. So this is a massive problem, and people die all the time. So it's a problem that exists constantly. And the blue states in particular are fighting the release of these records because it's going to be worse there. So that 660,000 is a number just going off of the existing ratio right now. But the ratio is going to be worse, significantly worse in states like California. Judicial Watch sued the state of California and gained access to their voter rolls. And those 1.2 million names that had to be deleted in Los Angeles County was forced to do so. And the problem is, like I said before, we have active and inactive voter rolls. And the thing that happens in the interim between an election and after the election is the danger. Are inactive voters going to be activated and then deactivated and no one sees what happened? That's the problem. That's why they don't want us looking at anything other than some pieces of paper where they say nothing went wrong. So I hope that fills you with some hope, because I saw a lot of people telling me, you know, election integrity just has not been talked about by the Trump administration. Well, they have actually talked about it, and they are looking into it. It's just a complicated situation because you do have a separation of powers. The federal government and the state governments have distinct responsibilities. The federal government doesn't really have that much oversight, except in the area of voter registrations. It is within their jurisdiction to enforce these standards across the board, especially citizenship and whether someone is alive or dead. Very, very important. Anyways, this is going to be a short live stream anyways. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream or the video stream. This is
Okay, that was an important one. Yeah, that was important stuff there. I'm doing the shorts again and then go back and do a 10-minute Trish. I'll probably go to 7, maybe a little after. We're having a big show so far, you guys. Our TikTok lady. Okay, this is.
Shocking connection to the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk. Plus, major fireworks in the James Comey case. The federal judge slammed the prosecution today. It was not pretty. Will this case even survive the fallout? Meanwhile, President Trump is taking bold action to tackle affordability for all Americans. This, as Chicago's public schools are exposed for blowing millions of your tax dollars on lavish overseas trips. Safari, anyone? Your money, their vacation. As always, hit that like button. Welcome if you're new here, and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you never miss the day's top headlines. So we're learning some new and frankly bizarre details about Tyler Crooks, the man who opened fire at President Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Take a listen to this.
Hey,
this guy, Thomas Crooks, was interested in this furry site, spent a lot of time there, had various images that he liked and reposted, and also gave his pronouns as they, them. But I think the more important part is what the comments, his online comments from, he was very young, I mean, 15, 16, 17, show us about how he became increasingly violent and sort of radicalized against Democrats. He was pro-Trump. And then in January of 2020, he flipped 180 degrees. Something happened to make him become rabidly anti-Trump.
Okay, so then something strange happens in August of 2020. Crooks completely disappears from the internet entirely. Poof, gone. And this is a guy who practically lived online. Now you fast forward to July of 2024, he fires 8 shots, kills Corey Compentor, and grazes President Trump. And keep in mind, The man accused of targeting
They're
Charlie
short
Kirk
videos, 3
also
minutes.
shared this bizarre furry fixation. At some point, you have to start to wonder what exactly is going on in these corners of the internet. Now, here's the former FBI deputy director. This is interesting. Talking about Crook's social media. This was back in July of 2024.
There were over 700 comments posted from.
Okay. They're not very long. Ah. Ah. Why is that doing that? Dang it. We'll do part 3.
Same sentence as Epstein. Their response? Oh, this is just a stalling tactic, which is rich coming from the people who turned stalling into an Olympic sport. Here's Chris Coons weighing in.
My gut hunch is that Attorney General Bondi, having just been ordered on social media by the president to open an investigation into a series of high-profile Democrats, will promptly say, oh, no, there's an ongoing investigation. We can't disclose any of this. And the president will back that up.
If the investigation was surrounding a guy by the name of, I don't know, Donald Trump, we all know the Democrats would tell us we need to be patient and let the investigation play out. Now, top aide for Bill Clinton, he responded to the email dump we saw last week by writing, quote, these emails prove Bill Clinton did nothing and knew nothing. The rest is noise meant to distract from election losses, backfiring shutdowns, and who knows what else. Yes, the classic, he knew nothing at all. Always reassuring. And then there's Chuck Schumer, who was asked why Democrats didn't release the Epstein files during the Biden administration. And boy, talk about Olympic level dodgeball. Watch this.
It's a question that's out there. Why wouldn't they have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office?
Well, that's the question every American is asking. Or not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding? Why doesn't he want them released? When you don't want something like this released, when even a whole lot of Republicans are calling for the release, his own party members, people ask the question, what's he hiding? It's got to be answered by releasing the files.
And they wonder why they're losing the authenticity battle. Maybe, just maybe, answering a straightforward question would be a good place to start. Now, speaking of accountability, there's breaking news in the James Comey saga. Probably not going to love this news. A federal judge just dealt prosecutors a major setback in Comey's case, ordering them to hand over all secret grand jury records to his legal team. And he also called out a disturbing pattern of what he said was investigative missteps.
Okay.
This account.
I'll get to
some of these.
This one.
I'm back in DC, and it's like it's wet. Not that many people here. I'm probably gonna have this Secret Service agent walk up to me because I'm wearing my gun belt. Don't worry, I'm not carrying a mag or anything. No. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Don't worry, it's empty. Arizona, mags and gunner at home. Glock 17, 3rd gen. Tend to get a lot of attention. I don't know why. You guys remember Filipos? I did a lot of videos with him. It was like a permanent protest for years. He's not here. He's not here.
Okay.
This is Filipos. If you guys have been with me for 4 years, you remember him. How long have you been here now, Filipos?
Oh my God, 40 plus.
40 plus.
Way plus 40.
We don't look alike. No. We don't agree politically, but we're friends. And you can do that too with other people. You don't have to react. You don't have to scratch a Tesla. You have to talk to people. So what do you want to say to them since it's been a while, Filipos?
I'd say anybody out there that's pissed off at Tesla that wants to donate to Tesla, you can find me at the White House. And I'll just put a sticker on top of Tesla that says Nikolai.
I just saw Tesla has a sticker on the back saying I bought this Tesla before Elon went crazy. So I know what I said on my post? I said, I hope a liberal walks up to the front of the car, not the back of the car. Because he could be just covering not to get his car scratched. Sure. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. This is Lafayette Park. It's right outside of the White House on the Pennsylvania side. There is no front of the White House because they don't want to insult foreign dignitaries. So this is the Pennsylvania Avenue side. And the other is towards the Washington Monument, which you've seen many times. There's the Washington Monument, Little Point. It's great to be back here. You feel the energy. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in D.C. All right, so I was talking to the Secret Service. The gun belt was getting a little tension. I told them I got an FBI file. They checked me out with my social security number.
Okay, he's back. I still got that Trish one, and Mike M sent me a video on that one lady. There's 15 and a few other short ones. I don't think we played this one, did we, guys? Hold on.
Eastern Virginia district now. They tried a second indictment, remember, and that news came out late yesterday, actually after yesterday's show. But I got to go back to a story that I started reporting on and was clued into both via the Financial Times paper out of London, as well as some reporting that the Gateway Pundit had done. And I thought that this was really suspicious. I've done a lot on terror financing in my career in the past, and this struck me because Letitia James, who's supposed to be responsible for the sort of clearinghouse, if you would, of any money that's going through New York, a lot of money goes through New York because don't forget, the oil trade itself, right, is done in dollars. Oil per barrel is priced in dollars. So when you have sanctions in place and you're not allowing Iranian oil and you're not, transacting with Iran or Russia for that matter, well, what happens when everything and all of those transactions are done in dollars? That's when some of these countries start to look for a workaround. And in the case of Iran, it seems that they were looking for a workaround. And guess what? They found one thanks to Letitia James, which has me asking a question that it's sort of similar to what I'm asking with Timmy here is, did she deliberately look away? I mean, Kathy Hochul too, but this comes under Letitia James's jurisdiction as AG of New York. Why was she allowing for nearly $10 billion to be going through New York banks that shouldn't have gone through with, by the way, a bank that had a history of laundering money for Iran? I mean, this is something to see. So let's back up for a second. Here's a story in the Financial Times. Standard Chartered's Iran transactions, the subject of new whistleblower claims. Apparently this bank, which is a British bank, had all this money going through New York. Again, you got to transfer everything into dollars so that they could then send it to Iran. It's nearly $10 billion worth of alleged money laundering. And they had a history, by the way, of money laundering for none other than Iran. And we're told that Letitia James's office was informed of this, and they didn't do anything. So is this a Timmy situation where you just look the other way? We don't really want to know about this. When we had sanctions in place, by the way, that was under the Biden administration. That was her president, right? Who put in those sanctions. And yet this money was allowed to go through New York. And despite her and her staff being told about it, like they looked the other way. Does anybody else find that suspicious? I mean, I'm just saying, maybe you forget about the mortgage thing for a minute, because to me, this seems like a bigger deal. And nobody's talking about it. I get it. It's complicated, okay? Your money laundering with Iran, it's complicated. And Standard Chartered Bank and this, that, and the other. And we're going to go and read the FT out of London. But you know what? We're going to do it. We're going to do it because this is important. And somebody's got to pay attention to this, because this is a big kahuna, I think. You're talking about $9.6 billion in foreign exchange transactions tied to the Islamic Republic with a notional value, according to the filings, of $100 billion. The transactions were allegedly carried out between 2008 and 2013 after the London headquartered bank had announced it would cease all new business with Iranian customers in 2007. Forgive me, that's the old one. Okay, that's the old one. That's how we know that Standard Chartered Bank has some sketchy stuff going on. The new information that you need to know about is what was going down in most recent years, in early 2024. Whistleblowers came forward, sanctioned financing experts, and they alleged that Standard Chartered Bank's license should be taken away. They shouldn't be doing business in the state of New York because they were flushing money right through the system. You see, it has to go through New York because that's the financial capital of the world. And where you're going to get your dollars, you're going to get them in New York. So all the dollars maybe being laundered, let's say, some country that wants to do business with Iran and wants Iranian oil, well, let's call it China, for example, because, why not? Okay, China wants to do business with Iran, but they need dollars. Like, they've got to do this in dollars, and they've got to send dollars to Iran. So how do they get dollars? They have to come to New York. And this is actually why the U.S. is the hegemonic power of the world. This is why we do control everything. Guess what? Our king dollar really, really matters, because all this money that gets put from A to B to Z has to go through our financial system. In this case, it was going through New York. And this is why New York has kind of an important role to play in all of this. And maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it needs to go to Texas, because maybe Texas would wake up and say, we don't know if we want all this money going to the Iranians. So Gateway Pundit did a really good story on this over the summer. And I want to just bring your attention back to this at this moment in time, because I realize, okay, people are upset. She's not getting indicted for the alleged mortgage fraud, but maybe that was sort of a distraction, shall we say, because the bigger story might be that she just ignored this and her staff members ignored this. And you have to ask why. In early 2024, New York Attorney General was briefed on all of this, but she did nothing other than reapprove Standard Chartered Bank's annual license. The New York Attorney General was briefed in 2 meetings in February and March of 2024 about the $9.6 billion in illegal payments. So if you're the Attorney General of New York and you get $9.6 billion going right through your banks in New York, I mean, it's not our bank, it's a British bank, but it had a location in New York because it needs the dollars, okay? So that's how it works. So this is going through Standard Chartered Bank for these allegations, and you don't say anything? Even though people are coming back to you and saying, hey, this is a company that, by the way, has had a problem in the past. As recently as 2019, they were fined $1.1 billion by US and UK authorities for money laundering and sanction breaches, including transactions involving Iran. In 2012, Standard Chartered Bank, again, paid $350 million to settle, I don't know how they're still in business, to settle claims of laundering 200.
What happened? Huh. I guess I have to stop that one, you guys. They won't let me finish the video. Can we play this one, Kay?
Gathering of world leaders is happening the morning after this explosive 33-page document was quietly released by the White House. In the pages, a warning for Europe, saying Europeans face civilization erasure. Those words found in the president's national security strategy. He's branded as, quote, a roadmap to ensure America remains the greatest and most successful nation in human history and the home of freedom on earth.
But inside was a revolution which exploded 34 years of globalist foreign policy dating from the collapse of the Soviet Union. Here's how Canada's Global News described it.
We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders.
Donald Trump made it clear the United States foreign policy would change. On Friday, the White House unveiled its new national security strategy. For decades, the U.S. was the hub in the wheel of international security and trade. The new strategy says the days of the U.S. propping up the entire world order like Atlas are over, that the affairs of other countries are U.S. concerns only if their activities directly threaten American interests, and the U.S. will enforce the Monroe Doctrine to restore its preeminence in the Western Hemisphere.
It made the Washington establishment and their allies in the city of London, Paris, and Brussels very, very angry and very paranoid. Both the Financial Times and the London Guardian thought the document meant the United States was about to launch a color revolution against the UK and the EU. That might not be a bad idea, but that's not what's in the document. The hysterical New York Times said it was both racist and white nationalist. Nothing could be further from the truth. And those who believe Trump is run by Israel or that America first means complete isolation from the rest of the world or total disarmament, listen up, Tucker and MTG. This document shows how very little you know about our present world or President Donald Trump. The document says that Donald Trump's worker first, America first economic policy is now the foundation and focus of all of our national security policy. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I followed the coup conducted by the modern British financial empire against Donald Trump ever since 2016. The policies in this document are why they tried to overthrow his 2016 election, succeeded in doing that in 2020, tried to jail him for life in 4 criminal cases, and have tried to kill him twice so far. It's also why there is such a massive operation right now to splinter the MAGA coalition, which won in 2024. Our enemies knew this was coming for months. Today, I'm going to tell you more about the key parts of this new strategy. I think it will shock and surprise you. Then I'm going to say more about the crazy criticisms of the Europeans and the globalist elites. Finally, I'm going to show you that the Middle East, Russia, and China are no longer first on America's foreign intervention agenda, as they have been for decades. Instead, Trump is looking for major economic deals with these areas of the world for our benefit, the benefit of Americans. He's gone to war, however, with the drug and human trafficking cartels in our own hemisphere and the financiers because they are poisoning our people. But before we dig in, please like and share this video. It increases our reach on YouTube. Now, to entice you to read the whole strategy, which you have to do, I'll give you some of my favorite quotes. Let's begin with this one.
This weird scissor replacing gadget is quickly becoming the most popular Christmas gift of 2025.
After the end of the Cold War, American foreign policy elites convinced themselves that permanent American domination of the entire world was in the best interests of our country. Yet the affairs of other countries are our concern only if their activities threaten our interests. They placed hugely misguided and destructive bets on globalism and so-called free trade that hollowed out the very middle class and industrial base on which American economic and military preeminence depend. And they lashed American policy to a network of international institutions, some of which are driven by outright anti-Americanism and many by a transnationalism that explicitly seeks to dissolve individual nation-state sovereignty. But protecting the people of the United States is the Constitution's mandate. That means protecting them from military attack and hostile foreign influence, whether espionage, predatory trade practices, drug and human trafficking, destructive propaganda and influence operations, cultural subversion, or any other threat to our nation. That's what the document says. It means strictly controlled immigration, a dominant military, and a Golden Dome missile defense system protecting us from nuclear annihilation. It also means building new physical infrastructure domestically against natural disasters. All of this, not the usual expert bloviating justifying millions spent and many lives lost battling ever new enemies, is in the strategy. And none of this is possible without having the strongest, most dynamic, and most advanced economy. That means being the most advanced scientific and technological power in the world. Over and over again, the document returns to the task of rebuilding our economy and claiming our sovereignty as the essential task of national defense. We have to reshore major industries, critical supply chains, and our defense industrial base, and create energy dominance in advanced fossil fuel and nuclear systems. Climate, a main threat under Biden, is nowhere to be found. We also have to restore our cultural health. Here's another favorite quote of mine. We want an America that cherishes its past glories and its heroes, that looks forward to a new golden age. We want a people who are proud, happy, and optimistic that they will leave their country to the next generation better than they found it. We want a gainfully employed citizenry with no one sitting on the sidelines who takes satisfaction from knowing that their work is essential to the prosperity of our nation and to the well-being of individuals and families. This cannot be accomplished without growing numbers of strong, traditional families that raise healthy children. And listed among the doctrine's key national security principles is something that I'm quite sure has never been in a document of this type: pro-American worker. American policy will be pro-worker, not merely pro-growth, and it will prioritize our own workers. We must rebuild an economy in which prosperity is broadly based and widely shared, not concentrated at the top or localized in certain industries or a few parts of our country. Along with that is what is called a predisposition against entanglement in any foreign affairs, as stated in the Declaration of Independence. But the conditions in our hemisphere, which give rise to mass migration and the drug and human trafficking cartels, and which involve entanglements with hostile foreign interests right on our shores, require our intervention. That's what's going on now. As the president said in a late night post on Friday, I am trying to stop the poisoning of our nation. Or, as Vice President Vance put it, we've been told for decades the U.S. military must go everywhere and do the impossible all over the world. But the red line for President Washington is using the military to destroy narco-terrorists in our own hemisphere. Our own hemisphere is the new defense and foreign policy priority. That change is called the Trump correlate to the original Monroe Doctrine. Ending foreign wars, which could, in the modern transportation world, land very quickly on our shores or become nuclear, is also a core principle, including, most emphatically, ending the current war between Europe, Ukraine, and Russia. Now, so why is Europe so hysterical? In a word, Europe has devolved into an Orwellian hellhole. Just Friday, the European Union fined X $140 million because Elon Musk refuses to ban free speech. European dissidents are now regularly jailed for thought crimes. Their leaders describe unregulated speech as the biggest national security threat.
Glad to see you back.
Here is the paragraph from the document which has the Europeans squealing. Europe's economic decline is eclipsed by the real and more stark prospect of civilizational erasure. The larger issues facing Europe include activities of the European Union and other transnational bodies that undermine political liberty and sovereignty, migration policies that are transforming the continent and creating strife, censorship of free speech and suppression of political opposition, cratering birth rates, and loss of national identities and self-confidence. Should present trends continue, the continent will be unrecognizable in 20 years or less. We want Europe to remain European, to regain its civilizational self-confidence. and to abandon its field focus on regulatory supplication.
My energy bill dropped from $150 to $50 by doing this. My friends laughed at me when I spent $49 on a power saver device that could cut my energy bill in half.
In other words, the document says we should foster resistance to Europe's march to national suicide. Now, you won't find this document covered fully and truthfully hardly anywhere else. That's why you should subscribe to our newsletter if you haven't already. The link is in the description. Now, because of what Donald Trump has done in establishing peace in the Middle East and opening relations with Russia, those areas of the world are no longer the central preoccupation of American security policy as they have been for decades. The emphasis is on maintaining the peace and garnering economic deals favorable to American citizens. It is a fundamental national interest of the United States, the document says, that the war between Europe, Ukraine, and Russia ends. We're not going to war with China. Rather, we have to de-risk our economic relationship with China through reshoring and fair and reciprocal trade deals. And we have to outpace China in an economic competition while protecting our trade relationships and trade routes with other Asian countries. This policy was written by Michael Anton, who took the job as Director of Policy Planning at the State Department to write it. Anton served in the first Trump administration. He authored the famous document supporting Donald Trump in 2016 called the Flight 93 election. In that document, Anton posed the essential question about 2016. Would an election of Hillary Clinton lead to the utter destruction of the United States after 8 years of disaster under Barack Obama? His title referenced the patriotism of the passengers on United Flight 93 on September 11, 2001. They seized the plane and flew to certain death, knowing that they were thwarting an attack on our nation's capital. Our national defense depends on the willingness of our soldiers to fight and die for this country, if called upon, and of our citizens to engage in great national missions benefiting everyone. No one but those afflicted with a mental disease called TDS would want to fight and die for Hillary Clinton or the policies that she, Barack Obama, and the World Economic Forum foisted on our nation and which Donald Trump has now ended. So I hope you see why this document seems to me to be an early Christmas present from the President of Peace. But it will be opposed violently by the enemies of our country, foreign and domestic. That includes the Wood Party and globalist factions of both the Congress and our intelligence agencies. This is the real fight about the midterms and the deep state. And we here at Promethean Action have a huge educational job to do starting right now. Download and read the whole document. And please provide as much financial support.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, we're starting to follow her. I haven't played a couple on TikTok she's on. So I got 2 more Q videos. So I'm going to finish off with the Vinny there. One more Vinny video. Four minutes.
Story to tell you guys. After I'm done with the story, I want each of you guys, I want the chat completely full. If you don't mind, I'd like you to let me know whether you think that my suspicions are right or suspicions are wrong, and why you think so, if you have time to do so. But at this point, anyone in Trump's cabinet is available and open to suspicion. We've been stabbed in the back too many times in the past, and I know that Donald Trump has snakes in his corner, and I will talk about that a little bit later. But let me get into this story. So many years ago, there was a man who worked for the Naval Intelligence of the United States. After a long investigation, it was discovered that this man was taking secrets from the American government and selling them to a foreign nation. The very definition of traitorous behavior, or what we used to call in this country, treason. So this man served 30 years in prison. And one of the members of Trump's cabinet years ago stood up and said, it is time to let him go, at the behest of the nation that he was actually selling secrets to. They asked for their guy back, and one of Trump's cabinet members went before him and said, I believe that this man has served enough time. We need to show leniency on him and let him go. So they allowed him to go. They pardoned him and let him go on probation, obviously, or parole. He was supposed to spend life in prison, although we also understand that American citizens that have committed treason, there are other options as far as how we deal with that. I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want to extend my welcome on YouTube. So the man was allowed to go free. He spent 2 years in the United States and then decided to make his home in the nation that he sold us out to. Upon arrival to that new nation, he was greeted by the leaders of the state, the heads of state. He was given a hero's welcome and told, welcome home. Now, an American being told welcome home in a foreign nation is suspicious enough. But again, hero's welcome rolled out the red carpets literally for this man. Now, what would you guys say about this? On top of that, one of the members of Trump's cabinet, the same one that petitioned for this man to be released on parole, was found just last week secretly meeting with this spy or with this traitor of the United States. The man is a member of Trump's cabinet and did not even bother to let Trump know that he was going to be secretly meeting with the spy or the traitor. Now, would you guys say that this man needs to go? Would you guys say that Trump needs to immediately fire this man? I say so. I think that he needs to go. If you are going to expose Donald Trump to that level of scrutiny without at least letting Donald Trump know ahead of time, and Trump has confirmed he had no idea that this meeting was taking place, then you need to go. You cannot expose the president to that type of scrutiny. The problem is the man who met with the traitor, his name is Mike Huckabee. In addition to that, the man who was found guilty of selling out the United States, his name is Jonathan Pollard. And the nation that he sold the secrets to was Israel. And to make matters worse, the foreign dignitary, the head of state that welcomed him home with open arms was Benjamin Netanyahu. Now that I give you the whole story, do you guys feel the same or do you guys feel different? Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.
Okay. Yep, Wade, he's right. Yeah, I got one more cue and finish off with Vinny. Tomorrow night at 5. Four minutes on this one.
Coming true. It's finally going down. I am so excited that this whole thing, this nightmare, is finally coming to an end. What am I talking about? We have now come one step closer to Joe Biden finally being tied to Hunter Biden's crimes. Now, don't glaze over. Hear me out. So now ABC is reporting that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were working together.
Yeah, we all knew
Hunter
that.
Biden took more than $3 million from a Romanian. So we're not talking about the Russians that we knew about, the Ukrainians that we knew about, a Romanian businessman who sought to influence American policy. Now, we've been talking about the Biden's schemes with China and all these other countries and many others, but this is why this is significant. The DOJ has now taken it up and run with it. So Merrick Garland has now turned on his old boss. Now, this directly implicates Joe Biden in this. So now we have FARA violations for Hunter Biden, and it's coming out in his tax case that starts next month. Now, why is this so problematic? And why is it just now coming up? Donald Trump told us the other day. He told us that he is hearing from people within the Biden administration that Joe Biden plans on going against Kamala Harris in the at the convention, that he wants his job back. Now, this was Trump's words, not mine. And Trump typically doesn't go flying off at the corner of his mouth. If he's saying it, he's heard it somewhere. So Joe Biden is wanting back in, he's wanting his job back. So is it weird that now Joe Biden is finally tied to his son's dealings? Now, this is why it becomes of extra interest to me, because what power does a vice president have? We've been told this how many times, that you can't hold Kamala Harris responsible for the Biden economy, because at the end of the day, she was just a vice president. She didn't have any real power. So if as vice president, he was influencing American policy or U.S. policy, then how is he doing that? Wait a minute. Could it be that Obama was in on this as well? Could it be that the one who was really influencing was Obama? Could Obama have been on the take? This is why it becomes interesting, because Obama knows that he is now in the crosshairs. This is why they turned on Joe to begin with, because Joe and Hunter got sloppy, and now it's putting Obama, it's putting the Clintons all in the crosshairs, because that entire administration, if you remember, Hillary was in as Secretary of State, yep. Biden was vice president, Barack was president. So if policies were being affected, if policies were being influenced, it would have had to have taken Joe Biden talking to Obama to get these things done. So now the whole house of cards is starting to come down. We need, not the DOJ, we need Congress to finally end this, to finally run this completely up the ladder. Don't stop at Hunter. Don't stop at Joe. Don't stop at Barack. Go all the way up the ladder. Wherever it leads, all of them need to go down, because we now know that they sold the United States out for.
Oh, what the heck? Well, they stopped the last minute, you guys. They won't let me finish the video. That's the second one that they stopped the video. So I want to finish off with the latest one that came out with Benny.
You might have recognized. Anyways, I had a few hits a few years ago. That's why, you know, polka. No?
Yeah.
Twin Lakes polka, Damavuji polka, a.k.a. Kiss Me polka, polka twist.
Well, these are songs.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. Let's go ahead and check in on Ilhan Omar's net worth. Remember, Ilhan Omar is a refugee who came here with nothing, who needed welfare, who needed America to take her in from Somalia because there was just no opportunity for her, and she just needed to get a start. And let's go ahead and see how that's going for her. Oh, yeah, she's worth nearly $30 million. Somewhere between $6 million to $30 million. Oh, and these are conservative estimates. These are always lowball estimates. She, of course, started off in Congress and she had less than $10,000 to her name. But after 4 terms, she is now worth $30 million. Fascinating that. It's amazing.
My goodness.
3 terms, sorry. That's pretty quick to become a multi-millionaire. What could possibly happened to Ilhan Omar that could have netted her so much money? You know, there's billions of dollars in fraud that went on in Minneapolis. That's still going on in Minneapolis. And, well, we're starting to learn that Ilhan Omar has quite the connection to this fraud. Omar allies tied to massive Minnesota COVID meal fraud scheme involving Somali community. Individuals tied to Ilhan Omar, including former campaign worker and associates of the Minneapolis restaurant she frequented, allegedly profited from the scheme. Now, Ilhan Omar is saying she didn't know anything about it. I don't know nothing, she says. In fact, she'd said that when asked why was there so much rampant fraud with the Somalis, she said, well, it's actually the U.S. government's fault.
On why the fraud got so out of control in Minnesota?
I think what happened is that, you know, when you have these kind of new programs that are designed to help people, you're oftentimes relying on third parties to be able to facilitate. And I just think that a lot of the COVID programs that were set up, they were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created.
Oh, okay. You know what? It's because the U.S. government was giving away too much money and we just stole it all. And so you didn't put in enough guardrails for us to not thieve and pirate it away from the U.S. taxpayer. This is what Ilhan Omar is saying. All right, got it. So now Ilhan Omar's, some of her closest associates are being arrested by ICE, aren't being arrested in all of this fraud.
All right, this news just breaking moments ago. Fox News has obtained photos of one of the Somali illegal immigrants wrapped up in the Minnesota fraud scandal, posing with several high-profile Minnesota Democrats, including Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Governor Tim Walz. The man pictured is Abdul Zahir Ibrahim. He entered the country in 2000 and has had an order for removal since 2004. He also has a prior conviction in Canada for asylum and welfare fraud. ICE tells Fox News Ibrahim was granted temporary protected status for 10 years, but should have never been eligible.
Starting to sense a trend here. There you go. Look at this. Oh, campaigning for Ilhan Omar. Would you look at that? It's only a matter of time, ladies and gentlemen. She's going to wish that it was just marrying her brother, that those are the charges that get her in trouble or wrong ways with the law. Look at this. Here you go. There's Ilhan Omar right there with the known fraudster and criminal alien. Obviously, he's running around in Democrat circles. Look at the number of people he's hanging out with, all these high-ranking Democrats in Minnesota. It's only a matter of time until people start really asking, like, what's going on in Minnesota? You know, everything from like the murders, that murder spree, that was insane murder spree that didn't make any sense, to, well, here's Ilhan Omar literally promoting the fraud restaurant whose owner was caught scheming and frauding $250 million from the U.S. taxpayers. Wow. And here's Ilhan Omar working at it. You know, it really makes you wonder, like, what did she know? When did she know it? A Democrat activist, close associate of Ilhan Omar, has pled guilty to a connection to a massive fraud ring. Ilhan Omar worked at the fraud restaurant. Of course, here's Tim Walz with the fraudsters as well. This isn't going to end well. And the Trump administration seems sort of laser focused now. They have like a new emboldened mission. Ilhan Omar's net worth has exploded over 46,000%. $30 million net worth. Wow. Look at that. It's only going to end one way, ladies and gentlemen. You have now Dr. Oz, just one of many Trump officials who are out saying, listen, we are going to put an end to this. You probably heard Minnesota fraudsters stole over $1 billion in Medicaid. You deserve an explanation. Here's the explanation from Dr. Oz.
It's true.
a Somali fraud ring in Minnesota stole over $1 billion from Medicaid. How did this happen? Well, Medicaid programs are run by the states, which in Minnesota means the Tim Walz administration. Governor Walz and the state's other Democrats rely on Somali votes to get elected. So they decided to look the other way because they were afraid of, quote unquote, political backlash. Don't take my word for it. That's what a Somali American fraud investigator told the New York Times. When these scammers realized that nobody was guarding the cash register, they went gangbusters. One program designed to provide housing stabilization assistance to patients ballooned to $104 million, when 4 years ago it was projected to cost only $2.6 million. Some of these taxpayer funds may have even ended up in the hands of a Somalian terrorist group. Scary stuff. When CMS became aware of the housing program situation, Minnesota insisted it could clean up its own mess. A few months ago, it admitted it could not. So we stepped in to shut down the fraud-infested housing initiative. Today, we're taking action on more than a dozen other programs, which I've outlined in the post below. Our message to Walz is clear. Either fix this in 60 days or start looking under your couch for spare change, because we are done footing the bill for your incompetence. This administration will never stop fighting to protect the vulnerable Americans who rely on these programs and the taxpayers who fund them. We're going to crush waste, fraud, and abuse.
Taxes was feeling unwelcome. Now Taxes is an open door to TurboTax stores. Meet our experts. They do your taxes, so you can walk out with confidence. Now this is Taxes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that the Trump administration has found their target here. And Stephen Miller is the exact wrong guy that you want, viewing you as a target for deportation and for prosecution. Stephen Miller's take on all of this should make their blood run cold. The dog's got a bone. There you go.
Yeah, so based on what we have found so far, we believe that the Somali fraud operation in Minnesota is the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history. We believe that we have only scratched the very top of the surface of how deep this goes. And you're familiar with all the scams with pretending that children have autism who are not in fact autistic, with pretending to enroll people in food programs when in fact nobody was ever enrolled, and engaging in massive fraud, lying, and theft and grift on a scale we've never seen before in American history. The total bill, the total tab for this is going to be far beyond the numbers we've already seen reported. We believe the state government is fully complicit in this scheme, and we believe that what we are going to uncover is going to shock the American people. Look, based on the records that we already have, and this is a significant undercount, by the way, 75% of the Somali population in Minnesota is on welfare. But that's likely a significant undercount of just how much of a financial burden the Somali refugee population is imposing on this country.
So Governor Walz was warned by whistleblowers. He was told. You saw the dismissive attitude of the Attorney General. Congresswoman Omar is on defense, but apparently is associated with people, or at least people around her, clearly seem to be involved, not been proven yet, but very defensive at this time. Do you believe all of them, that this will apply to all of them, their lack of concern, the amount of money involved, any possible protection that they offered?
Yeah, I think you're going to see all of that, Sean. This scandal is going to rock the core of Minnesota politics and American politics. We are going to be able to show through whether it be willful blindness, whether it be deliberately turning the other way, or whether it be direct knowledge, we are going to show how Democrat politicians, Democrat bureaucracies, Democrat political systems, and the Somali refugee population ripped off the American people, stole countless taxpayer dollars, and engaged in scams that boggle the mind, scams that we can scarcely even conceive of or imagine in their brazenness. This truly underscores the extent to which The Democrat Party has used migration as a weapon against the American people to gain political power at the expense of American citizens, stealing their money, stealing their votes, stealing their sovereignty. This is going to be case in point for the argument that President Trump has made about why we must stop mass third-world migration into this country. It is a tool the Democrat Party has used to rob the American people blind.
Okay, I think that was a troll I had in here, you guys. So I took care of it. All right. Yep, trolls are being nothing better to do. All right. Well, thanks, Kay. Helping JJ, everybody, all the old names and new names. Thanks for coming in. And we will be back tomorrow at 5 unless something develops. And God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit the like and sub to the backup channel. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up. And signing off, Chico, dude, till tomorrow.